Okay, folks, this is a follow-up of the video that I did a few days ago regarding my um, concern over low water pressure that was causing my espressos not to come out watery at best, and there was just not enough pressure to brew the coffee properly. It actually seemed to have gotten better. As you recall, I replaced the pump thinking that that was the cause of it. And it didn't seem to help at first, but then over the course of the next few days after I replaced it, it did seem to get better. But I also changed coffee type. So maybe it was just that. Well, this morning, no coffee at all. And no water at all was coming out of the front here. Even if I just push the water only. And if I try to get water or steam out of the wand, it was coming out with very little pressure. So it pushed me to open it up again. This is probably the third time that I go through this, and I did go through this once before. Take it all apart. I'll talk a little bit about this, and clean the insides and everything. Put it back together, it seemed fine. But I always noticed, I had noticed recently that there seemed to be coffee grinds inside that orange plastic container that's in there. And again, I'll show that to you in a minute, which I thought that was odd. And I figured that maybe the coffee, that is what tamps the coffee down, water goes through that cylinder, and it pressurizes the chamber where the coffee is in. And so what I figured is that coffee was perhaps going back through the holes where the water should be coming out of, and so maybe those gaskets were not good. Those gaskets are not cheap, so it kind of stopped me from trying that. They're like $3-4 each, and there is like 4 or 5 of them, which obviously in the grand scheme of things is not much, but it's just stupid that a little O-ring costs that much. Anyways, now that I have no water at all, I had to pull it apart again. And what I noticed as you open yours, you'll see that this hose plugs in there, and let me get some light in here. If you can see that, but yeah, here you go. So the yellow plastic, a little out of focus, but you get the idea. The little yellow plastic cylinder there. So what I noticed is that I was trying to let it brew, and I was looking on that cup gets pushed up and squeezed when the brew group moves up into it, and that gap that you see there, that little U-shaped gap, actually disappears. And obviously water goes into this inlet channel right here, and then it goes to the cylinder, and it comes out of the bottom. Well, what I noticed is that the water was actually starting to come out from that around that yellow plastic cylinder, which is obviously not good. And in fact, if I can get in there, you'll see that, if I can shine the light properly, this side wall over here was all wet and it was dripping down, and in fact you can see that there is water right there on this on the bottom where there isn't supposed to be. So I pulled this apart. There are 2 screws here, 2 screws here. There are nuts on the bottom corresponding to obviously where the screws are. You can get to it with your little finger right here on the bottom. There's one inside here, and then the other 2 are back here. And be careful though, because there are nuts that come off. Here's what these screws look like for the back, and there's also a washer there. Now to put that back, it's not easy because you have to obviously hold the washer in before you put the nut in. But actually what I did is I got a little bit of that silicone grease that I showed you that I got for this, and I just put it on the washer, and basically stuck the washer on the plastic there, put the screw down, and just enough time to get it working. So this comes off. There are some wires that you have to unplug because they're too short. Be careful, pull them very slowly, and be careful with this little temperature sensor that's over here. First time I pulled this out, I actually unscrewed these two screws. I unscrewed that screw right there, and that allowed me to take this off, allowed me to take this off, and so on. But it really doesn't need to be. Basically, once you take those 4 screws out, this whole assembly comes out. Oops. This whole assembly comes out, and here's what it looks like. Then there are 2 screws, one over here and one over here. You take that out, and this separates from that assembly. You can leave that there, and now you have this piece right here. This goes here, so you just take out those 2 screws, take out the gasket, which I did replace a few months ago actually already. There is also a screw in the center right here, and you flip it around. There is a screw in the center right down there, and now this cup comes off. Okay, comes off like this. Okay, so these 2 springs, you'll find them in here, so they're not under any pressure, so they just come off. So once you pull that out, once I pulled this out, what I found is that there are 2 gaskets, one over here and one over here, and the bottom one was actually cracked open. Okay, so what I suspected was correct. So essentially, when this this is upside down when it's in operation, when this squeezes up, the brew group moves into position to brew. This is actually pressed up, and without the springs I can do this easily, and it pushes up against there. And so essentially you'll see that little guy comes out, and that's where the water comes out to brew the coffee that is sitting right here, again upside down like this. So what I suspect is that these 2 O-rings, as well as the O-ring at the very tip here, are constantly being actuated and rubbed against the sidewalls of this plastic in here for this one here, and then down in that hole for the one down for the one that's at the tip right here. This one is probably not affected. Yes, it is, because it rides into this hole right here, and so again it keeps that seal there. Now this piece actually comes out if you push on it like that. Once you remove that screw in the center that I mentioned earlier, this comes off, and there's also an O-ring down there. Now this one doesn't move, right? So I don't think I'm going to replace that again, because these things are $5 a piece, because this one does stay here like this. Again, there's a screw in the center here, so this one doesn't move. So as long as that is not leaking, that O-ring should be fine, right? The ones that are the ones that wear out are the ones that are being rubbed against surfaces constantly. So this one here, you can even see that this one is black, which definitely means that it saw some action. And then these 2 right here. So I'm going to replace these. Obviously, I don't have a choice there. I got to replace that one for sure. And hopefully this thing will be back to normal operation as it was when I first bought it. This is now about 7, maybe 8 years old, and really this water pressure issue is the first time that I have a problem with it. So I'm going to fix this, get some O-rings, and put it back together, and I will let you know how it goes. Okay folks, so I replaced those O-rings. This is what I ended up using. For the small ones, I got number 36 from Home Depot, and for the bigger one, I got number 5. Again from Home Depot. So I think that this one is okay, number 36, but I think that this one may be a little bit too small, so it went on snug, and it may not be sealing properly on the outside. The water that was leaking from, let's see if I can get you there, yeah, from the side of the of the orange cover there. Stop doing that, so I can show you real quick if I do this. Okay, it goes up and there is no leakage around it, immediately around the that yellow plastic cylinder, which there was water coming out this morning, and now water does come out from the spout over here. However, when I turn on my water, okay, water does come out. It just still doesn't steam strong enough to me the way it used to be when this sucker was new. However, this morning it would not steam at all, actually, obviously because I had a busted gasket right there. The very small one at the bottom was broken. So now it steams, and it does seem to steam actually with pretty good pressure. So I'm going to try to brew an espresso now and see how that goes. So that's coming out pretty good, and this morning it was definitely not working. So the O-rings up in the generator assembly were definitely the culprit on a lot of these issues. Unfortunately, the O-rings are not available or not broken down. You know, they want you to buy the entire generator, which is on eBay $75, and of course from the parts suppliers it's more like $150. So where the boiler here is fine, there's no issues with it. Resistors are working fine, and the brew group as well as the assembly on the bottom as well is also working fine. I can't justify even spending $70 just for a couple of O-rings. So I'm going to be on the quest now to figure out exactly what these O-rings are and try to get the original ones anyways. But for now it seems to be working, and I am going to brew myself finally an espresso for the day. Let's see if that works. Alright, so success. I might have the pressure a little bit too high because over the past couple of days I had to increase it, and it was probably because that O-ring was going. Again, no leaks over there, so that is definitely a good sign. So I'm not convinced the O-rings are good, but it does seem to brew. It's got a nice crema and everything, so mystery solved. Now the quest for the O-rings. Hope this helps you guys.